Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are continuing with our module, Peace and Conflict Studies. Today we are covering the types and causes of conflicts. First, I'm going to show you the Peace Index from 2015. This is the Global Peace Index in 2015. As you can see in this map from the bottom of this key, we have the color gray representing those regions where the survey for peace was not conducted, so it's written not included. And we have the countries colored in red, and here it says very low, meaning that the peace is said to be very low. Then we have this orange color representing low peace, yellow representing medium, this light green representing high, and this dark green color representing very high, meaning the countries colored in this dark green color are said to be very high in peace. So let's locate where our country is in terms of these color codes. This is where Zimbabwe is, and it's colored in orange. And to our key, they are saying low, meaning whoever carried this survey reached a conclusion that we are very low in terms of peace in Zimbabwe. And this is in 2015. Then the next map is taken from 2017. In the same manner, they are using these color codes indicated here on the left of the screen. Beginning from the bottom, we have very low. Countries like Russia, Ukraine, and other countries are said to be very low in terms of peace. And with this pink code, this is low, and yellow representing medium, green representing high, and light green representing very high. Now let me show you conflicts to watch in 2023. So this is measuring the likelihood of conflicts in the world. And we have a key here, which is indicating that tier 1, it's in maroon color, it's high priority. This orange color, tier 2, is medium priority. And this yellow color is tier 3, which is low priority. Right. Let's see which countries are these. This is Africa, and here we have Mozambique. So they are saying about Mozambique, ineffective governance and deteriorating economic conditions prompt an upsurge in militant activity in northern Mozambique and an increase in civilian casualties. So they are saying the likelihood of conflict in 2023 in Mozambique is moderate, and the impact is low, such that the conflict in Mozambique is a low priority. Then also in these other countries, African countries, all these conflict mappings are considered a low priority concern. And this is a USA, likelihood moderate and impact very high. And here is Ukraine. In Russia, they are saying popular dissatisfaction with the war in Ukraine and worsening economic conditions lead to growing civil unrest in Russia and a power struggle in Moscow. So the likelihood of conflict within Russia is moderate, but the impact will be very high. And this is also what they are saying about Ukraine. Escalation of the armed conflict in Ukraine resulting from the employment of unconventional weapons spill over into neighboring countries, including cyber attacks on critical infrastructure and or the direct involvement of NATO members. This is the likelihood of conflict in Ukraine, and the impact is very high, such that the priority given to these conflicts is very high. And these are also other conflicts. Here we have the issue of Taiwan and China, an escalation of coercive pressure by China toward Taiwan, including heightened military activity, precipitates a severe cross-strait crisis involving the United States and other countries in the region. The likelihood is moderate, but the impact is very high. So whatever is going to happen between China and Taiwan, the likelihood is being said it's moderate, but the impact will be very high in terms of peace and conflict in the world. But here we have an issue. We are seeing that most of these conflicts in Africa have been considered to be a low priority, depending on these color codes. Where we have conflicts and people dying, where we have insurgent activities in other parts of the country, where we have people dying because of these conflicts, and it's said to be a low priority just because it's Africa. We have to understand the global politics. We have to understand also the geopolitics and the differences between the developed and the developing nations. That bias, that inequality, that difference given between these countries is also a cause of concern. It's also a cause of conflicts and instability in the world. Let's get back to our slides so that I show you some of the types of the conflicts. We have seen the conflict horizon or the conflict mapping for the whole world through those global peace index that I've shown you. Now let's look at the peace and conflict landscape, the background in our own backyard, in our own country, the peace and conflict in Zimbabwe. Right. I think everyone can relate to this picture. Violence and the monopoly of the state. It's also a topic of discussion in peace and conflict studies. How does the state use violence against its publics? How does the state monopolize violence? Through the use of state apparatus like the army and the police. Whilst there are rules and laws that prohibit a violent action, but the state uses the same violence to bring order and to control people. That's why we say it is the monopoly of the state to use violence. Then we have this other picture showing us civil unrest and issues of social justice, where we see people burning tires, burning buildings, burning cars, and running amok in the streets, demonstrating and shouting slogans and all sorts of things. It is a cause of concern in peace and conflict studies. We cannot leave such issues undiscussed. We cannot leave such issues unattended to because they are topical in our peace and conflict studies. Why are we studying this topic? We must understand conflict and peace from a theoretical background and from a practical background as well, so that we will be able to make the right decisions when we are confronted with such issues or such conflicts. Civil society and social media in the peace and conflict discourse in Zimbabwe is also a topical concern and a cause of concern in peace and conflict studies. We're also looking at political violence and the actions of civil society and social media in conflict. Now, let's look at the types and levels of conflict. Intrastate conflict is conflict that is happening within certain boundaries, within boundaries of a certain nation, a certain country, or a state. Insurgence is when we have groups rebelling against their government and making a conflict or war using weapons of warfare. Mass protests, I think everyone can relate to mass protests. We have dealt with civil unrest a number of times in Zimbabwe, where we have people demonstrating trying to drive forward certain agendas. We had situations where police stations were burnt, where buildings were destroyed, where property was looted, where property was destroyed, where human life was lost because of mass protests and civil unrest. So mass protest and civil unrest is also a cause of concern in peace and conflict studies. We also have civil war. Civil war is when there is fighting within a particular country using weapons of war. That is civil war. It is a full-fledged war, but that which is happening between people of the same country or within the boundaries of a particular country. Terrorism. Terrorism can also happen in a particular state when we have certain groups of people or even individuals just terrorizing others, just terrorizing institutions, or targeting the government to destabilize the government. to destroy property, to destroy human life, that is terrorism. It's a cause of concern because it destabilizes the peace in a region, in a community, or in a society. It's a cause of concern in peace and conflict studies because human lives are lost, human rights are abused, property is destroyed and lost. Then the other is political unrest. When we have political unrest, when we have political parties, because of the ambition to reach certain political goals, fighting each other, and supporters in those political parties, killing and maiming each other, that is political unrest. And in a situation where we have political unrest, peace levels obviously decrease. So political unrest is a cause of concern. Then we have interstate conflict. Interstate conflict is conflict between two countries that are fighting, or among different countries that are fighting. We can have interstate conflict among more than two countries. We know about the World War I and the World War II. We know about different wars that have happened since then. We know about the war between Russia and Ukraine right now. That is interstate conflict. How does interstate conflict manifest? It may manifest in trade disputes. When countries disagree because of trade, we see that often between USA and China. Then we have border disputes. For example, in many countries in Africa, we may have border disputes. In countries like Ethiopia and Eritrea. Why? Because these borders are not an origination of the African people, but these are arbitrary borders that were drawn by the erstwhile colonizers. Then we have illegal migration and influx of refugees. Such illegal migration can end up in interstate conflict. Then we have armed conflict, that is full-fledged war between countries or among different countries. Then the last dimension we have is international conflict. And the issues of concern under international conflict include trade disputes, also includes armed conflict, the same as war, like what is happening between Russia and Ukraine right now. We also have mass protests. Why mass protests are also included under international conflict is because of the issue of human rights. The issue of human rights and human rights abuses is an international concern. Wherever there are allegations of human rights, the international community may find need to intervene. That's why mass protests also fall under international conflict. Then we have the issue of human rights. Like what I was saying, the issue of human rights is a topical issue in the international community. Global commons, the issue of global commons. When we are saying global commons, we are referring to those commodities that we share as children of the world, as people of the world. Things like air, water. Now, the topical issues of climate change are coming because of these global commons, of these commodities that we share as people of the world. Then mutiny. An independent country may fail to deal with issues of mutiny on their own, and they may need intervention from the region or from the international community. That's why it is a concern in international conflict or international peace studies. Terrorism is also an international concern when we have different groups of people arming themselves to fight the government in place. Independent groups of people can engage in acts of insurgency to destabilize the peace of a country. And that affected government may need help from the regional bodies, may need help from the international community to preserve the peace of a country. Right. Let's now look at the causes of conflicts. We have been talking about the types of conflicts, but do we know what's causing those conflicts? How does globalization or global inequalities cause conflict in the world? The differences between the global north and the global south. There are rich countries and poor countries. And whenever we are trading or making deals with these countries, we tend to suffer because of this inequality. And that is the cause for concern in peace and conflict studies. Then we have ethnic differences. Let's look at countries like Rwanda, where we had mass genocide in 1994, where people were killing each other just because of ethnic differences. Then we have ideological differences. Under ideological differences, we are saying people are never the same. Even in the same country, even in the same family, people are never going to see things in the same way. People have different beliefs arising from different religions, arising from different cultural backgrounds, or just different perceptions. So ideological differences may be a cause of conflicts where people fail to reach an agreement because of their different belief systems. We also have religious conflicts standing as an independent factor to conflicts. Let's look at countries like Nigeria, where we have large numbers of Muslims and large numbers of Christians. Then people are fighting, killing each other just because they belong to different religions. Religious beliefs can be a cause of conflicts. Then control of resources. There is never going to be equal distribution of power. There's never going to be equal distribution of resources. And the struggle for such resources and power may cause conflicts in any country. Causes of conflicts under this subheading are also embedded in the societal structures, like what the Marxist theories say, are embedded in the social structures. The inequalities between people in a society. We have the rich and the poor. We have the employers and the workers, the capitalists and the proletariat. So there's never going to be a balance. So in trying to achieve that balance, in trying to reach that equilibrium, there may be conflict arising from such differences or from such struggles. Then control of governments. Control of governments may cause conflicts when we have different people with ambitions to have control of governments. Then balance of power in the international community is a cause of conflict. When you are saying balance of power, we are saying the world is in an unstable balance of power where different countries or players are competing for power. When we have different parts of the world, different countries of the world fighting to be in control or fighting to control the whole world or fighting to be in power, that's balance of power. When we have different countries competing in the arms race, trying to build strong nuclear arsenal or other weapons of mass destruction, that is arising from the issue of balance of power. Let's look at what is happening right now between Russia and Ukraine. We have different players in the conflict: United States of America, China in the background, Germany, and other European countries. They are all involved somehow. The issue at stake here is because of balance of power. The actions by the Russian government have proved to the world that the world is in an unstable state of balance of power. Why? To understand this better, you have to read about the realist theory or realism. That's where we have this balance of power described in depth. In other materials that I have provided, or more materials that I'm going to provide, I've written much about. We also have the Cold War legacy and the colonial legacy as causes of conflicts in the world. And some of these issues that are happening today, especially the war between Russia and Ukraine, is a Cold War legacy. And Russia probably is now trying to regain territory that has been lost at the end of the Cold War. Poor governance. Poor governance is also a cause of conflict. Ineffective controls on firearms. These rising cases of armed robberies. Where are those firearms coming from? So if we fail to control those firearms, we may wake up one day with armed groups doing whatever they want or terrorizing people in our communities. Then poverty as well is a cause of conflict. There's a common statement that says a hungry man is an angry man. If people are poor and they cannot find any other means or solution to their misery, they may organize to rise against governments. Right, these are the types and causes that we talked about in this session. Keep on researching. There's no guesswork to these issues. You have to start. You have to read wide. In conclusion, these are the issues that we talked about. We looked at the conflict horizon for the whole world. We looked at the regions that are being affected by conflict. We looked at our situation in Zimbabwe. We named some of the conflicts that happened in Zimbabwe, and we also looked at the causes of conflicts. This is the end of the presentation.